Stocks trickle up today as we look at the oil prices continuing to decline. An ER doctor commits suicide mysteriously, and we'll look into a little bit of the details that go about that. Andrew Cuomo is requesting a loan from the federal government because his state apparently can't pay their bills. And, I'm sorry, Washington Post is blasted for claiming that Trump allies are amplifying Biden's accuser, Tara Reade. Plus, we will read Twitter trending hashtags for the day. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Well, given what I just did in the opening, I think today is going to be the day that I call into work for the first time in 4 years. So we'll see what happens there. But we're going to get through this here because you guys are in here waiting and ready to go. I am Jay Edgar. This is Contemporary. So, what we're looking at this week, and before we get started, let's head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We've got the generational gap. We've got tweets by Britt. We've got Freckles and Britt, rather. Britt was on my show last night and bailed me out when Adam Kokesh dropped out at the last minute. We've got Wyatt Birkenhoff. We've got Stephen Ignoramus. We've got the R-Rated Conservative. And, of course, all of the shows that you see in front of you here. Head on over there, check us out, check out some of our merch, and support the cause and support freedom of speech. Well, we're going to start today with Investors Business Daily, see what we have going on over in the stocks world. I love how the fact that we don't hear anything about stocks anymore, now that they're getting closer to getting up to where they were just right in February. I mean, we hear it, of course, on this show, but the mainstream media is not saying a word about the fact that they're lower than they were back in February. But let's read from Scott Latonin over at Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones futures jump amid volatile oil prices. Key earnings results from Alphabet AMD may drive stock market rally. Let's get the live chat up here. Dow Jones futures jumped early Tuesday along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures amid volatile oil prices ahead of a busy week of key earnings results. Tech giants AMD and Alphabet prepared to report their results after the close. Meanwhile, the coronavirus stock market uptrend continued Monday with strong gains as the U.S. economy makes plans to reopen. Earnings season continues this week with highly anticipated results from tech giants AMD and Alphabet. Dow Jones stock Caterpillar moved higher despite poor results. Meanwhile, Merck and Pfizer were sharply mixed after their earning results ahead of the stock market open. Oh, that's kind of cool. I've got a little bit of stock in Caterpillar. Not a lot, but just a little bit. Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft and Tesla are set to report throughout the week. Tesla stock surged above a new buy point Monday, ending the session in buy range. Early Tuesday at around 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time, Dow Jones futures were up 1.4%, while S&P 500 futures rose 1.2%. NASDAQ 100 futures rallied 1% versus fair value ahead of the stock market open. Remember that overnight action in the Dow Jones futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Meanwhile, oil prices continued their wild swing on storage concerns. Early Tuesday, June West Texas Intermediate futures plunged as much as 22% to $10.07 a barrel before trimming losses to about 16% to $10.70 a barrel. On Monday, WTI oil futures crashed nearly 25% to about $12.93 a barrel. Among exchanged traded funds, Innovator IBD 50 gained 1.7% Monday. The ETF of top growth stocks remained about 19% off its 52-week high. The NASDAQ 100 linked Invesco QQQ Trust ETF moved up 0.8% to close at 215.56. Meanwhile, the SPDR S&P 500 ETFs rose 1.4% to 287.05. On Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped more than 350 points or 1.5%. The S&P 500 advanced 1.5%, while the NASDAQ followed with a gain of 1.1%. Within the current stock market rally, the tech-heavy NASDAQ is down just 2.7% year-to-date through Monday's close. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average are down 10.9% and 15.5% respectively. The coronavirus outbreak continues to spread across the U.S. according to Worldometer data tracker. The cumulative number of confirmed U.S. cases rose above 1 million late Monday. Despite the rising total, the daily number of new cases remains steady amid the increase in testing. Confirmed COVID-19 cases worldwide climbed above 3 million, with more than 210,000 virus-related deaths. With the daily number of new cases slowing, investors are turning attention to the economic impact of the coronavirus outbreak and the possibility of the country reopening for business. And that is one of the things that's going to be driving all of this going up is people are first off, they're getting their stimulus checks and they're going out and spending and spending and spending, and that's always going to be a good thing. But yes, they are looking at the fact that they can go out and go to work. So I think they are taking some time and doing a little bit of that extra spending. So we'll see what happens as we go along there. I've got another article on stocks from Fox News. Stock futures trade higher as oil decline continues. This is from Ken Martin over at Fox Business. U.S. equity futures are pointing to a higher open ahead of the start of the Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting as oil prices continue to trend lower. Dow Industrial futures are pointing to a gain of 1.4% ahead of the Tuesday trading session. Governments are inching towards letting businesses reopen, and central banks are stepping up to provide cash into the economy. Print, 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 print. The U.S. Federal Reserve policymakers will begin a two-day meeting on Tuesday amid turbulent financial markets. The Fed is needed to rescue an economy and job market that appear to be free-falling into the worst catastrophe since the Great Depression. In energy markets, benchmark U.S. crude dropped 8% or 105 to 11.72 a barrel in electronic trading on the New York Mercantile Exchange. It fell 4.16 or 24.6% to 12.78 a barrel Monday. Brent crude, the international standard, rose 42 cents to 20.41 a barrel. Prices have been swinging wildly as demand for energy collapses and storage tanks come close to topping out. In Asian markets on Tuesday, Japan's benchmark Nikkei inched down less than 0.1%, Hong Kong's Hang Seng rose 1.2%, and China's Shanghai Composite fell 0.2%. In Europe, London's FTSE added 1.5%, Germany's DAX gained 1.5%, and France's CAC rose 1.3%. So, yeah, the whole world is going up because the whole world's getting ready to open up again. So, we will see what happens there. I know it's, once again, I mentioned the other day, I know that energy is going to go down because nobody's going to be heating their home anymore. Even the coldest parts of the country are not going to be turning on their heat. And, of course, those of you who are fans that I know that live down in Florida haven't had to have your heat on since 1948. But for the rest of us, we're starting to turn our heat off. And I've got a tweet here from Cat Turd over on Twitter. Just to kind of let you know what we're looking at, I saved this because this was absolutely perfect here. Cat Turd tweets 22 hours ago, if you're worried about the coronavirus coming back next winter, don't. It won't be an election year. And yes, that is something to keep in mind, is the fact that this all hit during an election year. As well as this. And this is a news story that I was immediately suspicious about as soon as I saw it. And then I found a tweet that kind of confirmed my suspicions that went along about it. But let's look what NBC News has to say here. ER doctor on front lines of coronavirus fight in New York dies by suicide. Dr. Lorna Breen was a hero who brought the highest ideals of medicine to the challenging front lines of the emergency department, the hospital said in a statement. This is from Corky Samasco over at NBC News. A New York City emergency room doctor who was on the front lines of the fight against the coronavirus has died by suicide, police said Monday. Dr. Lorna Breen, 49, who worked at New York Presbyterian Allen Hospital, was in Virginia when she died on Sunday, said Tyler Hahn, a spokesman for the Charlottesville Police Department. The victim was taken to UVA Hospital for treatment, but later succumbed to self-inflicted injuries, Hahn said. It was her father, Dr. Philip Breen, who revealed the first details about his daughter's tragic death. She tried to do her job, and it killed her, he told the New York Times. She was truly in the trenches of the front line. He said his daughter seemed very detached of late, and she had described some of the horrors she had witnessed at the hospital while battling the virus. Make sure she's praised as a hero because she was, Philip Breen said. She's a casualty just as much as anyone else who has died. Well, I guess that means she's counted as COVID death. The hospital confirmed Dr. Lorna Breen's death in a statement released by chief spokesperson Lucky Tran, but gave few other details. Words cannot convey the sense of loss we feel today, the statement said. Dr. Breen is a hero who brought the highest ideals of medicine to the challenging front lines of the emergency department. Our focus today is to provide support for her family, friends, and colleagues as they cope with the news during what is already an extraordinarily difficult time. New York Presbyterian Allen Hospital has 200 beds, is in northern Manhattan. It's one of the 7 hospitals that make up New York Presbyterian Hospital. And as soon as I read this, I know that, of course, the whole COVID thing has ruined me at this point, but I already started to try and find what the angle was, because from what we are hearing, from everything else that we're seeing off of this can't be the first casualty like this. Nor can this be one of the only problems that a doctor's been having. And of course, I had my suspicions that there was something else going on, and possibly this may not have been a suicide, but I looked at this, and I looked at a tweet. I looked down the trending page to find this here, and I found this tweet from Chad Loader that says, "I will see you're open the country now, and I will raise you one general strike by every doctor and nurse in America. Now what?" So, this was specifically chosen and put out there to politicize everything and throw that shot of fear porn back in the arm of everybody else. Now, I feel for Dr. Breen, I really do, and I feel for her family. I have struggled with that myself. I understand if she actually did this, I understand what she's going through. Absolutely did, but I hate the fact that Twitter had to go right out as soon as it happened and try to politicize it and try to make it into something where we have to talk about this again, and where the family can't grieve in private because we have an agenda to work with. Is essentially what I'm looking at when I see this. And yes, now they're going to use this to try and lock the country down for another 6 months. And I hate that. I really do. It's disgusting. And I hope the family can grieve in peace and isn't going to be trampled by reporters trying to get their teeth cut on the story here. All right. Next, from the Daily Wire, Tyson Foods chairman warns food supply chain is breaking. Government must allow workers to return without fear, panic, or worry. This is from James Barrett over at Daily Wire. John Tyson, the chairman of Tyson Foods, warned in full-page ads published in the New York Times and Washington Post on Sunday that as more meat plants are being forced to close amid the coronavirus crisis, millions of pounds of meat will disappear from the supply chain. Tyson has been forced to close multiple plants after weeks of public pressure. The company, which employs roughly 100,000 workers, closed its pork plants in Waterloo, Iowa, and Logansport, Indiana last week so that workers in those facilities could be tested for the virus, CNN reports. The Waterloo plant closure came after weeks of public pressure. Production had already slowed because of many of its 2,800 workers had been calling out sick, and local health authorities linked the Tyson plant to 182 cases, nearly half the county's total. A lot of this we read yesterday, but the Daily Wire is taking another look at this. While the company is taking steps to protect its workers, including installing dividers between workers and relaxing its attendance policy to allow sick workers to stay home, as reported by NBC News, the plants remain closed. The significant disruption in meat production caused by the closures, which other companies in Lansing Smithfield Foods are also facing, is leading to a food supply crisis, Tyson explained in the statement on Sunday. And the reason I brought this back up is because there is conversation that's going back around right now, mostly on Twitter, not necessarily on the mainstreams, but mostly on Twitter, talking about the fact that yes, we do have millions of pounds of food in cold storage. We're not going to run out of food by any means, but we are going to have to look for rising prices and an interruption in the chain coming down the pipes for later. But yes, we do have plenty of food sitting out in storage waiting to make sure that the American people continue to be fed. So it's not an end of the world scenario, but it is something we do need to keep an eye on. We did plan ahead for something like this. Not necessarily a pandemic that kept everybody else from going to work, but definitely a food supply chain interruption. We're going to move on here and talk about Diamond and Silk. This is from the Washington Examiner via MSN News. Diamond and Silk lose Fox News gig after pushing coronavirus conspiracy. This is from Caitlin Yelek. Fox News has reportedly cut ties with outspoken Trump-supporting duo Diamond and Silk. After what they've said and tweeted, you won't be seeing them on Fox Nation or Fox News anytime soon, a source with knowledge of the split told the Daily Beast. Lynette Diamond Hardaway and Rochelle Silk Richardson regularly appeared on Fox News and have long been contributors to the network's streaming service Fox Nation. The duo, who vigorously defend President Trump on social media, provided weekly videos for Fox Nation that appeared on the streaming service like clockwork until earlier this month, the Daily Beast reported Monday. No new episodes have been added since April 7th. Before then, the sisters never missed a week posting new episodes since December 2018. The duo last appeared on Fox News on March 6th and Fox Business Network on March 7th. Fox News did not respond to a request for comment from the Washington Examiner. Diamond and Silk have used their platform to spread misinformation about the virus, claiming the number of coronavirus deaths in the United States has been inflated to damage Trump. Silk has questioned whether the virus was part of a little deep state action going on behind the scenes. A day after the Fox Nation episode was posted, Twitter removed one of their tweets for violating its rules against coronavirus misinformation. The tweet called for people to expose themselves to the virus. Quarantining people inside their houses for extended periods will make people sick, they wrote. They've also promoted the conspiracy that 5G technology was being used to infect people with the virus. So we won't be seeing them anymore, on Fox at least, but they do still have their YouTube channel until Susan WikiWiki gets her hands on them. But yeah, it's kind of sad, and I do have one more story here. I mean, this is going to be a little bit of a short episode, it looks like here. But I've got one more story of another voice that's been silenced, but I put this one up with the coronavirus because it does seem that this is directly related to their coverage of the deadly pandemic that's going around the nation right now. And I've said, I don't want anybody exposed to the virus that doesn't want to be exposed to it. I know they're being accused of saying that everybody should expose themselves to the virus, but I don't want everyone to be exposed if they don't want to be. I want to be, because I want to take the 2 weeks, get recovered, and get back to work with the antibodies and not have to worry about it. But yeah, it's not my call for anybody else. So Godspeed to Diamond and Silk. I hope that they have future endeavors and their lives they're going to do okay. We've got YouTube out there. We've got the alt media platforms. They can get up on DLive and BitChute. So I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be able to make it on Patreon donations or Subscribestar donations. But yeah, they are not going to get that sweet, sweet Fox money anymore. All right. Financially, we've got one from CNN here. New York needs federal loan to pay state unemployment benefits. This is from Tammy Luby and Christina Alessi over at CNN. New York has to borrow money from the federal government to pay its state unemployment benefits after more than 1 million newly jobless residents filed claims amid the coronavirus pandemic, Governor Andrew Cuomo said Monday. That's why the federal government has to provide funding, because we don't have the money, Cuomo, a Democrat, said in a press briefing. However, New Yorkers are not in danger of losing their benefits. The state is responsible for paying its share of weekly payments, which last up to 26 weeks, and can turn to the federal government for loans if its unemployment trust fund runs out. The state has applied for and is guaranteed to receive a $4 billion interest-free loan from interest-free, there's your first problem, from the federal government, officials said. It operates like a line of credit, so the state can draw down as needed. The Empire State has processed 1.4 million initial unemployment claims and paid out $3.1 billion since March 9th. Jesus. Billion with a B since March 9th, including the $600 federally funded weekly boost that Congress approved last month as part of the $2 trillion relief package, according to the State Department of Labor. $3.1 billion. My God. I guess I don't understand this federally funded weekly boost and why New York is paying that out either. The money should be transferred automatically to the states at that point so they can do that. So they shouldn't have to be covering that initially if that's a federally funded program. So that should be coming in no matter what. So I don't necessarily understand why they're buying money, or borrowing money rather, but I mean, it's New York. They were already in shambles to begin with, but man, that is a lot of money to just start throwing around for no production. Cuomo also highlighted that the state is running a budget deficit between $10 billion and $15 billion, due largely to the outbreak walloping state tax revenue. Cuomo, along with other governors, has asked Congress to provide more federal aid to the state governments. But Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said last week that Republicans are not interested in revenue replacement for state governments or solving their pension problems. Instead, he suggested allowing states to declare bankruptcy. Democratic congressional leaders, however, had said that they will press ahead with yet another relief package that includes funding for state and local governments. The coronavirus pandemic has wreaked havoc on the national economy as businesses shutter to try and slow the spread of the illness. American workers have filed 26.5 million initial claims since March 14th, according to seasonally adjusted Federal Department of Labor numbers. New York is not the only state in this situation, nor is it the first time states have turned to the federal government for help during the economic downturn. California has also been approved to borrow from the federal government to pay its state benefits, a spokeswoman for the State Employment Development Department said last week. It has processed 3.2 million claims and paid more than $3 billion over the 6 weeks ending on April 18th, including the $600 federal enhancement. 6 states, including California, New York, Texas, and Ohio, can only fund up to 10 weeks of benefits before they'll have to turn to the federal government or other sources of infusions, according to an estimate earlier this month from the Tax Foundation. Texas said it may have to request a loan by mid-May, while Ohio said its trust fund could last as long as 8 weeks. Many states have been shortchanging their unemployment insurance trust funds for years, in part because they've been reluctant to raise taxes on businesses. And there it is. That's exactly the direction that CNN would go with talking about something like this. They're not taxing enough, so they have nothing to pay back out. And of course, in Wisconsin, employers do have to pay into the unemployment fund, the unemployment insurance fund. That's why when I was out of work, I was told numerous times that I need to go and get on the unemployment. I've never been on unemployment, but I was told that I needed to, and it was okay to take it because, the employer paid in for such a thing, but, I don't believe in taking government anything at this point. But it is there, and depending on your state, the employers are paying in, or the state is paying in, or the taxpayers are paying in. But yeah, if you're running out of money, you're running out of money too. So it's interesting, and I understand why New York is going to be one of the first ones to do this, because they were one of the ones that was hit hardest, and they've got a whole bunch of people that can't go to work. But a rainy day fund, maybe? I don't know. All right, this is one that came to me. It was actually put in the live chat last night while we were talking to Britt, but Ron went ahead and put it into the Discord so we could read it as well. This is from Newsweek. The controversial experiments in Wuhan lab suspected of starting the coronavirus pandemic. This is from Fred Gutturl, Naveed Jamali, and Tom O'Connor. Just one day after the U.S. surpassed China to become the country with the highest number of COVID-19 cases, the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency updated its assessment of the origin of the novel coronavirus to reflect that it may have been accidentally released from an infectious diseases lab, Newsweek has learned. The report, dated March 27th and corroborated by 2 U.S. officials, reveals that U.S. intelligence revised its January assessment, in which it judged that the outbreak probably occurred naturally, to now include the possibility that the new coronavirus emerged accidentally due to unsafe laboratory practices in the central Chinese city of Wuhan, where the pathogen was first observed late last year. The classified report, titled China, Origins of the COVID-19 Outbreak Remain Unknown, ruled out the disease was genetically engineered or released intentionally as a biological weapon. We have no credible evidence to indicate SARS-CoV-2 was released intentionally or was created as a biological weapon, the report found. It is very likely that researchers or the Chinese government would intentionally release such a dangerous virus, especially within China, without possessing a known and effective vaccine. Every scientist interviewed by Newsweek for this story also rejected categorically the notion that the virus was intentionally released. COVID-19 has infected nearly 3 million people across the globe, initially ravaging China before hitting hardest in the West, leaving the United States as the most deeply afflicted country. Still call bullshit on that, with more than 55,000 deaths as of April 27th. The origin remains the subject of not only scientific debate, but a politically charged dispute in the international community. Citing academic literature, the DIA document states that a definitive answer may never be known as to how the disease truly first emerged. A U.S. intelligence spokesperson told Newsweek, the intelligence community has not collectively agreed on any one theory. Tracing the origin of the new virus is not easy. It took researchers at the Wuhan Institute more than a decade to trace the 2002-2003 SARS virus to remote bat caves in Yunnan province. It's not surprising, then, that in early February, Chinese Academy for Military Medical Sciences concluded that it was impossible for them to scientifically determine whether the COVID-19 outbreak was caused naturally or accidentally from a laboratory incident, according to the DIA document. Well, here's reality. They've changed the story so many times, nobody knows where this actually came from, and I mean, it's a possibility that it was a bioweapon genetically engineered. I know that the DIA is saying that it is not, but it is definitely a possibility. It's something to watch, and yeah, now, it didn't come from the wet market, it came from the laboratory. And that's interesting to see. I know that they've tried to bridge that step numerous times as we go along, saying that the biolab sold the bat to the wet market that infected the first person, and I do have some credence to the idea that some lab worker got exposed to it and then didn't wash his hands when he went out to get soup somewhere and coughed on somebody. So, who knows? Maybe we'll find out in 3 more weeks that this was an intentional bioweapon. This has gone so crazy ever since it started, we have no idea what's going to happen next. Alright, next one here. From the Daily Wire, staunch Biden supporter Alyssa Milano concedes it's time to listen to Biden rape accuser. This is from Ryan Saavedra. Left-wing activist Alyssa Milano conceded on Monday night that it was time to listen to Tara Reade, who has accused Democrat presidential candidate Joe Biden of rape after more evidence this week that appears to substantiate the credibility of her claims. Milano tweeted, I'm aware of the new developments in Tara Reade's accusation against Joe Biden. I want Tara, like every other survivor, to have the space to be heard and seen without being used as fodder. I hear and see you too, Tara, me too. Reade made her allegations against Biden several weeks ago, and on Friday, in a 1993 CNN interview, was unearthed that reportedly showed Reade's mother calling into the network and saying her daughter was experiencing trouble with a prominent senator. On Monday, 2 more people who knew Reade in the 90s reportedly came forward and said that she told them at the time about what had happened. During an interview in early April, Milano said that she was staying quiet on the accusation because the mainstream media had not reported much on it. I've been very vocal for Biden and my support for him, and I did do my due diligence because part of it was that Time's Up decided not to take the case, and so I did my work and I spoke to Time's Up. I just don't feel comfortable throwing away a decent man I've known for 15 years in this time of complete chaos without there being a thorough investigation, Milano said. And I'm sure that the mainstream media would be jumping all over this if they found more evidence through their investigation, so I'm just sort of staying quiet about it. The Intercept reported early April that Reade had reached out to the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. Seeking help was allegedly denied, the Intercept reported. I think you're a little bit too little too late, Milano, and I'm pretty sure that at this point you realize that you have no more career coming up, and nobody's going to touch you with a 10-foot pole. So now you're trying to get back into the news to stay relevant, so your sycophantic fans will come up and come back by your side. Harvey McLeod and I talked about this with the gun thing that came up. But, of course, that didn't do anything for the woman as she was going along, so now she has to jump back on the Me Too bandwagon and hope that she can pull her feminist fan base back and try and get featured in some sort of movie. And she's been having trouble with this for quite a while, too. Now, I'm going to make an admission. This is going to be an unpopular opinion to everybody, but I actually think Alyssa Milano is a decent actress. I've seen her in several different roles. She's got a fairly good range of acting. She does her job well. She's a believable character no matter how outrageous the show is. She's a believable character in it. And she's She's pulled down some of the biggest roles in the world. But that is separating the art from the artist. Alyssa Milano herself, in real life, is a raging dumpster fire and just trying to stay relevant because nobody's paying attention to her anymore. I mean, I liked the Insatiable show she was on over on Netflix. I really like that show. I haven't seen the second season yet, but the first season was pretty good. But of course, every feminist in the world hated it because it's fat shaming, and Debbie Ryan's character has only got popular because she got thin, and that sends a horrible message to fat people. Yeah, watch the show. That's actually the point. Of course, all of these reports came out before the show came out, but I mean, the role that she did in My Name is Earl was sweet, tender. You'd never believe that it was Alyssa Milano. She actually did a very good job portraying a realistic character in the highly unrealistic Charmed. There's a lot of, I mean, she acts well. I will give her that. I will absolutely give her that, but stick to acting. Stick to pretending to be other people. Because that's what you're good at. And politics is not. Now, yes, of course, once again, trying to rally sycophantic fans in to your causes and trying to get them behind getting rid of Republicans. Yeah, apparently she's really good at that. And that was a big part of the reason that we heard so much about the Kavanaugh case. When she was sitting behind Kavanaugh glaring and I'm pretty much pretending to be somebody else. But no, Milano needs to stick to pretending to be somebody else because she's really good at that. And she's not good at a whole lot of other things. So, good for you for coming out on this finally, but yeah, this is too little too late, and we all know what your agenda is at this point. And the last one that I have on the news before we talk about the latest censorship is from Fox News. Washington Post blasted for claiming Trump allies are amplifying Biden accuser Tara Reade. The Washington Post was slammed late Monday for its bizarre framing of the latest developments that emerged surrounding the allegation made by Tara Reade against former Vice President Joe Biden. Reade, who came forward last month accusing then-Senator Biden of sexual assault when she was a Senate staffer in 1993, has had more corroborating evidence surface in recent days. A Larry King Live clip from 1993 purportedly showed Reade's mother calling into the show anonymously and alluding to her daughter's problem with a prominent senator, was brought to light on Friday. And on Monday, two more people, a former neighbor and a former colleague of Reade's, came forward to back her claims after the conversations they had back in the 1990s. However, a piece published by the Post raised eyebrows with its original headline that read, "Developments in allegations against Biden amplify efforts to question his behavior." Not long after it was published, a new headline appeared on the report. Trump allies highlight new claims regarding allegations against Biden. Some allies of President Trump pointed Monday to new claims by a woman who said she was told about sexual assault allegations against Joe Biden decades ago, renewing attention to questions about past behavior of the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. Washington Post reporter Matt Visor began. The transcript of the Larry King Live clip was first reported by The Intercept, the outlet founded by progressive journalist Glenn Greenwald, and conservative watchdog group the Media Research Center later found the clip in its archives. Rich McHugh of Business Insider, who previously worked at NBC News after having had collaborated with Ronan Farrow on the Harvey Weinstein scandal, was the journalist who broke Monday's bombshell report. As far as actual Trump allies, the Post cites tweets made by the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., in reaction to the developments, and the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who simply said the Biden allegation should be as scrutinized as one leveled against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh during his 2018 confirmation. Well, that's entirely wrong because there was no corroboration with Kavanaugh's case either. Because that was something that had no chance of being proven in a court of law. You guys need to stop chasing these cases that can't be proven in a court of law. Now, yes, I understand that Biden being the presumptive nominee means that he needs to be under a bigger microscope of this, but yeah, you're never going to levy a charge against the guy. You're never ever going to get a jury of the peers to convict, especially in something high profile like this, and he's got so much other problem than to make this fair game for everybody else who ever runs again on the and yeah, that's going to be a part of the problem here is now Republicans are going to try and do the whataboutism and say, hey, What about what you guys did to Kavanaugh? We're going to do the same thing to Biden. And that's just going to make it fair game for the Democrats to come out next time and say, hey, what about this against this Republican senator or presidential candidate or Supreme Court justice or whatever the hell else it's going to be. Hey, we're just playing by your rules now. This is just stupid, and this is going to make Washington completely stop functioning out of this. Stop with the 30-year-old shit. Especially, like I said, with Biden, who has got so much other problem that's current. You don't have to go back 30 years to go find something on the dude. With no witnesses. And yes, we do have corroboration. We have people that can confirm that Reid came out and told them about this. But once again, no witnesses, and you can't prove this beyond a shadow of reasonable doubt. Ask him about Corn Pop. Ask him about his hairy legs again. There's so much more you can go after him on. All right. Last thing that I have on news here today, and this is kind of sad because Twitter lost one of its best voices here. From Philip Anderson, King of Free Speech, or at King of Free Speech, rather, 11 hours ago. Twitter banned Dylan Wheeler, Education for Libs, last night. He had over 500,000 followers. Dylan goes off on Twitter and social media's illegal political takedowns of all Trump-supporting political pundits in this video. Dylan clearly has had enough of Democrats' bullshit. And we are actually going to listen to this. So let me get your headphones on while I get my headphones on here, and we will listen to what Dylan had to say.
The fact that I'm not even allowed to have an opinion that goes against the mainstream narrative on vaccines or Bill Gates or 5G or anything for that matter should tell you all you need to know. You only rip a man's tongue out when you fear what he might have to say. And they fear what I might have to say. What we might have to say. And they should. They really should. This is modern day book burning at its finest. And I'm sure YouTube will probably delete this video too. So please, share this everywhere. Make it viral on Twitter, Facebook, every social media platform. Because this is bullshit. And it needs to end. And I'm sick of people living in fear. Speak your mind. All the information is out there. When it's literally at your fingertips. Ignorance is a choice. You guys know what's right. You know what's wrong. The fake news media is a bunch of bullshit. Domestic terrorism. You know this. So, especially people out there who rip on QAnon. You're going to side with the fake news media before you actually research this shit? Or listen to anyone like me that's been in this game longer than you know. We need to stand up, and together, we hold the power, we hold the cards, we outnumber them 100 million to 1. We are the news now. We just forgot how to play the game. So if any of you would like to carry on my legacy on Twitter, start speaking your minds. Yes, I know it's scary. Yes, it's going to cause some anxiety maybe. You know what? Nervousness. All of that. You're going to get backlash for it. But you know what? Your Holy Spirit, your inner Holy Spirit irritates other people's demons. Just remember that, you guys. And you know what? I'm going to try to calm down for a second because I'm pissed. I need to get my perspective back. I know that God wins in the end. I know that patriots are in control. I know that this stuff takes time. Building a legal case against a power structure that has been in power longer than us and our grandparents have ever even been alive on this earth. This is going to take a little time. But you know what? It starts with FISA-gate. It starts with General Flynn being exonerated, hopefully later this week. And I'm going to be right here. I'll be on these other platforms. I'll keep growing on here. Twitter, I'll make another account. I don't care. I'm not in it for the followers. I'm not in it for the likes. I'm in it for the message and the impact it's going to have on humanity. I want my child to grow up in a safer world without crazy pedophiles that run this shit. So please excuse me for speaking my mind. That is all I have to say about this.
Oh, that's kind of an interesting place to cut it off. But yeah, so that was a good account too. And I mean, he was out following other people too. He was It was definitely a good one, and I look forward to seeing him come rise back up. I'm sure, kind of like Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, if he tries to make another Twitter account, I'm sure he's going to get banned right away again. I'm sure he's IP banned at this point, so we will see what happens there. And yeah, we lost a good voice. It's sad to see. So the last thing we do on Tuesday, because we talked yesterday about me gaining my faith in humanity back. Now we're going to read Twitter trending hashtags, and I'm going to lose my faith in humanity again. So let's get a refresh up here. See what everything is freshly. Of course, I read these again earlier, and they've all changed again. So let's start with Hulu down. Hashtag Hulu down. Be trying to close and open, remove, install, remove again, reinstall, clear my data. Also, Hulu can work, and then coming to Twitter to see the app crashed. So Hulu is down apparently. I've never used Hulu before, so I have no idea what it is. It's from what I understand, it's another streaming service that's like Netflix. But I mean, I pay for one, and my sister pays for the other one, and we both share back and forth with each other. So I pay for the Netflix, she pays for the Disney Plus, and I've got plenty of content. I don't need to add a third one. But yes, apparently Hulu went down 3 hours ago, maybe. Looks like. Maybe it's back up at this point. I don't know, but it was down. Next trend: aliens exist. I'm gonna talk, I think, a little bit more about this tomorrow because I'm interested in it. But yes, according to everything that I've read so far, the lead singer of Blink 182 got video released of a UFO from the Pentagon. And of course, now everybody's saying that this is going to be the next big thing that we talk about on the news everywhere. So we will see what happens with that. And yeah, we'll talk more about this on Contemporary tomorrow. So watch out for that. All right, next trending hashtag here. Distract a 90s kid. This was not on when I looked earlier, so we'll see what this one is. Distract a 90s kid by drawing these. Whatever they were, people drew a lot of them. Yeah, the figure 8 or the S or whatever the hell it was. Yeah, I drew a lot of those there. Basically just things that were big in the 90s that people my age used to pay a lot of attention to. Delia's catalog, I never saw that. But yeah, the overalls, I remember those in living color. And Walter trying to find the magic eye in Mallrats. I love Mallrats. I love that movie. Reminding them that Aunt Becky is going to jail. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, there's a good one. Distracted 90s Kid is the best hashtag ever, and it's honestly, it really is distracting me. Who started this? Yeah, all these memories here. The Milky Gel Rollers, I remember those. Gel pens. The string games. Yeah, all kinds of fun stuff there. Alright, and the last one is Harper Lee. Because today is Harper Lee's birthday. And with everything that we're seeing going on right now, some of the messages that Harper put out are some things that we need to remember as we go along here. Ray Boomhauer tweets, "There's no substitute for the love of language, for the beauty of an English sentence. There's no substitute for struggling. If struggle is needed to make an English sentence as beautiful as it should be. Harper Lee, born on this day, 1926. And this is the one that really hit me on this. Harper Lee was born this day in 1926. I think we as a nation could stand to reread To Kill a Mockingbird. Real courage is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway to see it through no matter what." And that's what we're trying to do with Freedom Scoop. That's what we're trying to do with all of the alternative media right now. The mainstream media and YouTube and everybody else they're guarding all the gates. They have all the keys. They know where all the doors are. And they can lock us out of all kinds of things. We know that we're beat because we can't compete with the money that they have behind there. But we keep getting up there and we keep trying. I mean, Education for Liberals, Education for Libs, was cut off of Twitter today. One of his biggest platforms with 500,000 people following him for Education for Liberals. Things that they could retweet out to try and educate people away from the dangerous groupthink ideology that the progressive left has tried to instill across the Democratic Party. And he had good information out there too, but where he falls, he's like a hydra. When you cut off one head, 2 more grow back in his place, and I'm sure that 2 more, or 3 more, or 4 more prominent internet personalities are going to grow up to take the place that Dylan had in our lives. So, yeah, we're licked. We're beaten from the beginning. But we're still going to get up and we're still going to keep trying. So, I don't think that that's what the original poster meant by that, but that is something that we need to consider as we go along. So, thank you, Harper Lee, and thank you for Twitter for paying attention to this and bringing this to our attention, and all of the trending hashtags that sometimes make me lose my faith in humanity as we go. and that is going to be it. Because I'm not feeling well, I'm going to push Eddsworld Gaming back to Wednesday again, so look for me tomorrow there, or you can look for me tomorrow for more contemporary. We have plenty more news to talk about, and this strange news cycle is going to continue to make more, but until then, I'm going to go and call into work and go back to bed, and we will see you tomorrow. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.